Ah! Peace, 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 blessings, blessings, love, and light. And welcome to Redefining Authenticity. It's your girl, Kim Martin Raymond, your toolbox essentialist and founder of Redefining You LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And we are also the home of the 365-day challenge.
Okay. Peace, love, and blessings to each and every one of you. And welcome back to all of you who come and listen in, watch in. Make sure you are clicking like, subscribe, follow, all those good things. My name is Sheronda L. Barksdale, the Empress Shay of Authentically Your Expressions, where I am helping you live the most authentic life, being true to you. And yeah, Carmen, looks like you home.
All right. I am home. I am home for a minute.
Go a
Yes.
minute.
Yes. Yes. It's been an interesting week. We laid the CEO of the company that I work for to rest this past week.
Yeah.
And so, it was a time of fellowship coming together to honor a man who left his footprint in the
Yeah.
childcare industry. And it was a wonderful celebration of life. And
Yeah.
so, as we're moving into the spring season, things growing, and we're talking about relationships and
Yes.
different aspects of relationships. We're going to be continuing part two of of last week's show, which is talking about relationships and what to look for in
Yeah.
relationships. But all of these things are helpful in so many ways because we have so many different kinds of relationships that
Exactly.
we enter into, and they're treated in different ways. Just like there's no blanket way to do any one thing, there are different ways that we relate with people because we have different types of relationships with people. We have different love languages. We have different ways of
Yeah.
loving people. So
Yeah.
there are so many aspects to relationships. And like I said, this was one that was a little tough. I've known this man for, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, 17, 18 years.
Yeah.
And it's just establishing those relationships and seeing where you are. And of course, it always is introspective. Anytime someone passes, you
Right.
take a moment to look
Mhm.
at your life and look over your life and see where you're at, and what's the legacy that you're leaving
That part, man.
behind,
That
and that's something that's key. But like I said, we're just talking about relationships and different aspects of relationship. This is going to be a series again. So we're starting out with what to look for in a relationship. Okay,
yeah.
so we're going to dive into what we started last week.
Yes,
And
please.
yeah, but I'm saying, any words before we get started, Sharonda?
Well, yeah, I was
Yeah.
excuse me as I choke on my own saliva. I was gonna say, a quick banter. It's important to always be conscious of how we encounter our relationships with people, whether it's an intimate one, whether it's a business one, whether it's just I'm passing by you in the street, whether it's with our children, our spouses, our mothers, our fathers, all of it is so important. And I don't feel like people are very conscious of how they show up.
Right.
People walk into relationships just for them to be satisfied by it. And in relationships, it's a reciprocal thing. There is no one sided part. Yes, you want to be satisfied, but the more satisfying you are,
Mhm.
number one, to yourself,
Yes.
the relationship with you is most important. But then the more satisfying what you bring to the table is satisfying. If somebody likes a steak dinner, but you want to bring just vegetables, y'all are speaking two different languages.
Right.
And it's okay to walk away from situations, whether it's a business relationship, an intimate relationship, or whatever, when y'all like bringing the same things to the table to satisfy each other. Now,
Right.
if you want to bring, like, say, I'm saying, I want a steak dinner, Kim, and you like
Mhm.
veggies. Kim, like, I'm
Right.
about to bring Sharonda some steak, and I'm about to bring Kim some veggies.
Right.
Now we're set. Now, but we can have that conversation, and that's
Right.
the important part of relationships. Most important part,
Yeah.
communication. The communication we have with ourselves, and the
Yeah.
one that we have with others.
Absolutely. I love that. And just like you said, it's a beautiful segue because, like you said, when you're talking about what to look for in a relationship, as you're looking for what it is that you want in a relationship, you're going to also see what you don't want. You're
Yes.
also going to see what you don't want. And that's that. Like I said, that's a whole nother show. But what what we're talking about is when we're looking at those relationships and when we're looking at the encounters that we're having, even
Yeah.
if you realize that it's not going that there may not be a love connection, it doesn't mean that the relationship is lost.
Yes.
Person can
Yes.
still be a potential person that can help you as you're building your business if that's what you're looking to do. That person may be physically fit and they may be able to be a reference for you to be able to meet somebody who who is a weight trainer or something like that. So that person may not be the person that you're in an intimate relationship with, but that
Listen.
doesn't mean that they still can't be a resource. You
Exactly.
know, so we have to be able to look at a relationship and say, okay, yeah, it's not that intimate relationship, but I still can possibly have a relationship
I
with
can
this person in
possibly.
a different way. We don't just
Yes.
throw the whole relationship away because there may be something else. There was something that connected you in
In
the
the
first
first
place
place.
that caused y'all to to have different conversations and move to that level of going to a place or going on a date or doing an activity together. So there was something that drew you together. And so just because that intimate relationship, I mean, connection wasn't there, there is still a possibility that something can come from it, or that a positive relationship can develop in a different way. So we have to think about
Exactly.
we have to think about how we're thinking about relationships, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And let me
All
say
right.
too,
All
Kim,
right.
just to
Let's
piggyback off of what you said real quick about the finding out what you don't like. I just want to just implore y'all, don't be so
Mhm.
afraid to date. People are only afraid to date because you're investing emotions into places where emotions don't belong. And you're afraid
Mm.
to date because you're scared you're going to get hurt. That's why it's your emotions that's leading the way. Oh, I had such a great conversation. This could potentially be my husband or my wife.
Mm.
How? Just because you had a great conversation with someone does not mean that's going to. So people keep doing this over and over. They're doing the dating thing. They fall for someone. It doesn't work. They date again. They fall for someone. It doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, now I don't want to date anyone because it's always so hard. But if you go about it slowly, taking your time. Dating can be that space where you find out what you do and don't like. You
Correct.
could date somebody to find out what you don't like, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, if you've been out of the loop for a while, it may very well be that you didn't realize until that person said it. She was like, "Oh, I don't like that."
Yeah.
Or maybe it was something that you tolerated at one point because maybe you were younger and you were a little more resilient and resistant to those kinds of things.
Yes.
And now that you're a little older, you're like, you know what? Because
I don't date.
you've grown and you've expanded, and so your tastes may have changed. You may have
Exactly.
been that person who was like, oh, he's got to be tall, he's got to be dark, he's got to be handsome, he's got to be this, that, the third, he's got to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief.
Yep.
Now you may say, you know what?
Yep.
That guy over there, who works in sanitation, he looking pretty tasty over there, or
Okay.
or
There's some benefits
Right. He may be a little shorter now. There your taste may begin to change over time.
over
And so
time.
there's a lot that goes into what you're looking for. Your taste may change, and you have to consider that. The
Yes.
same guy who you may have fallen for at 16 or 26 may not be the person at 36 or 46 that's ringing your bell.
Yeah.
So, you got to take that into consideration.
Enjoy dating is all I got to say.
You're right. You're right. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Hmm.
Now, this is where we started last week. We were talking about accountability and safety and empathy. And
Yes.
this week, we're going to focus in more on cooperation, respect, and boundaries. So, this is
Yes.
something important for us to consider. All right. So, you go ahead and start us off, Sheronda.
Absolutely, absolutely. So cooperation, y'all, that is key. You have to be able to cooperate when you're in a relationship with someone. Meaning, like the first one says, you wish to work together. That don't mean you're on the same job. And it doesn't even mean that you do the same things. There are things in my current relationship that he does better than I do. So I let him take care of certain things and he lets me take care of, and it still balances because we're cooperating. with
Yes.
each other. It can't be a one-sided deal where you're just looking at how somebody serves you or
Right.
what you're getting from the situation. We have to work together, y'all. When that person, when you go out to eat, even if you somebody's like, I'll get dinner this time, and you be like, I'll get dinner next time. If that's what you want to do, that's a level of cooperation and not to feel offended by it.
Right.
Cooperation makes for a healthy relationship because
Right.
what co-op doesn't. That's the whole point of everybody bringing in the pieces that they can, and it just works. It just works. What you think, Kim?
I love that. Just like you said, when you talk about working together, I think about even on in business. You know,
Yes.
you're going to do an analysis. You're
Hmm.
going to find out each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
And like I said, if you're a person who is artistic and I'm not, you know,
Yep.
and you can help me, and I'm trying to make some changes in the way my dwelling place looks. I may say, oh, well, you're artistic, or you've got that eye. Can you look at this and see it for me, and let me see it from your perspective?
Yeah.
Or that person can be, like I said, a resource. I think about people as resources too,
Yes.
beyond just the physical relationship. Let's look at what else we can do, in working with each other. I may be horrible at budgeting,
Yeah.
but you may be a whiz at it. Give me some tips. So even if it doesn't work out and then maybe we're not together,
Yes.
you can at least show me how you do that, or what's the app that you use, or what's something that you use that I can possibly tap into so that I can learn. So you see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Finding
Yes.
ways to grow in this relationship, whether it works or not.
Or not.
I still am going to be able to walk away not bitter, but informed about something else.
Now better.
Can't that be the option?
Exactly.
You know?
Girl.
So we have to work together. Like you said, we have to be able to see, where each other's strengths and weaknesses are, and how we can help to build that person up. Not to make me dependent on that person. Now that's
Yes.
the critical part too.
Ooh, ooh,
Don't make
ooh.
I'm not getting to the point. Working with you doesn't mean that just because I've identified your strength that I'm just going to lean solely on you, because
Totally on your
something
strength.
happens to you. That's why it's important. That's your strength. Show me how you do
How
that, so that way we can empower each other. So that whether we're working together
or
or
not.
individually, we are still establishing strength.
Yep.
I don't want to be with the person, and that person is still doesn't know how to do their finances. And then when it's time for us to move in together, now I got to try to figure out whether you're going to be
Everything.
able to pay the rent, or I got to carry you. We don't
Yes.
want that to be it.
Yeah.
Seek how you can empower each other
Yeah.
by working together.
Absolutely. I
Build
love
each
you.
other up.
Absolutely. And that goes right into supporting somebody who supports open communication. I love someone I love, and I beg for people to tell me if something I said bothered them or if something I'm doing bothered you, because that's open communication. That way I
Yes.
have an awareness now and I can
Yes.
adjust. Relationships don't have to end the moment somebody does something you don't like. And that happens so often where people start dating and this person does that one thing you don't like, and you're like, I can't deal with it. I'm done. I can't. Did you tell them?
Correct.
Did you say to them, I don't like it when not when men or when people, I don't like it when you do this particular thing. It makes me kind of uncomfortable or it triggers me from something I've been. Say it with your chest so that people know. And therefore, and if your communication is about listening to, right? If you're on the receiving end of somebody saying to you, I don't like when I do something, then you should be able to internalize that, not think there's something wrong with you.
Right.
It just means that this particular person that you're in, what business relationship, intimate relationship, mother, daughter, whatever it is, that person doesn't feel comfortable in that in particular environment. So try your best to not create that particular environment, especially if you want to be around them.
That's right. That's right. You said the buzzword at the very beginning: awareness. It is about awareness. You have to let people know what it is that is concerning or bothering you.
Yes.
People are not, you hear people say all the time, I'm not a mind reader. I
I'm not a
can't
mind
read your
reader.
mind. I can't. So if you tell me, and I'm bringing a level of awareness to something, then it's on the person who is receiving that as well to say, okay, I realize that this is something that bothers
Yeah.
Kim. So let me be cognizant, or let me try to be mindful of
Yeah.
that. So when I go to say something, I'm trying to remember. And that's when you said that person is taking an interest in you and your feelings and your thoughts.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
just
Yes. Yes.
saying, oh, whatever. It's when somebody keeps repetitively doing the same thing after you've communicated to them. That's when it becomes, that's when that little red flag starts to
The
go up and
red
it starts
flag.
flying and it starts flapping, like then it's like this.
Yep. Yep.
you know,
Flapping.
that's when it's like right. The
Yeah.
whole point of it is that if you bring it to their attention and you're doing it, and I'm saying sometimes we have to be consistent in that. Oh, just
Yes.
a reminder. One of the things, my husband is a flinger. He likes to fling things. Like he'll just he say he'll pass you something and he'll kind of toss it to you, or he's sorting something and he kind of pushes things. So I don't like stuff on top of me, or I
Yeah.
don't like stuff to be too close. So he just know. Oh, if sometimes he may go and slide something, he's like, "Oh, baby, I'm sorry," and he'll move it back. I don't like to feel like stuff is crowded on
Encroaching.
that person,
Yes.
but I brought it to his attention. I know
You
you're
said
not throwing it at me. I know you're not doing that. That just, in his haste to do things, he moves things. But what I'm going to need for you to do is be careful, because it triggers me when I feel like you pushes. There's a whole table here, and I feel like you pushing stuff right up on top of me. Give me 50 feet. You know what I'm saying? But if I don't say that and I just get mad or push it back, I'm starting the tension.
it.
Don't be the fire starter.
Don't be the fire starter.
Do not be the fire starter.
See, which
Yeah.
goes into our next point of willing to compromise. Here's
Mm.
one thing I've learned about myself. I got some crazies. Okay. I got some crazies that like stuff like, okay, I don't like sitting water in my kitchen sink, meaning sitting, just water sitting in a bowl, water sitting in a pot. I
Wow.
specifically have a brush so that if after once you finish cooking, even if you don't wash the dish right then, use the brush to get any remnants of food out the bottom of it. Rinse it out, get the little strain thing, dump it out so there's not food. And I don't like floating particles of food and stuff. It could be an OCD thing. I might be getting older and get a little crazy. I don't know. But I just don't like, I'm not sticking my hand down in water to get nothing. It just grosses me out. That's not everybody else's problem.
Right.
I have learned to be responsible in a compromise. There are times where G tries to make sure he does it, but then there's times where I realize he doesn't do it, and I flip the lid sometimes. I do flip the lid, like didn't I say? But then I'll go ahead and take care of those things because I have to compromise on my own. I can't make him responsible for everything that bothers me.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to be willing to compromise on some of your own hard lines when somebody's worth it though.
Right.
Some people are not worth that. You have to walk in with them hard lines and then you realize, okay, this person is actually willing to give more in this particular area. So let
Right.
me see how I can adjust a little bit. Just a
Right.
little compromise. I ain't say give it all up now.
Right. That's it. But I love that you make a wonderful point. When you're talking about compromise and you're talking about, trying to create some level of harmony. Like I said, I'm not about the balance, I'm about the harmony. How are we going to make this harmonize? How are we going to work this together? It's important again that we're open to that communication, that we're asking, that we're working together, but that in that compromise, I'm saying I'm willing to step back a little bit, or I'm willing to give you the time that you need to
Yes.
make the adjustment.
To make
That's the
the
thing too.
adjustment.
You can ask somebody to do something one time, they're not always going to remember. And as the person who was doing this 365-day challenge, and we're talking about habits, it takes 66 days to create a habit. Okay, so we can't expect that if it's not something that they're doing every day, that they're going to remember. So that's where we give that gentle reminder, not knock them aside the head or be like, dang, I said. We have to be willing, you know what I'm saying, to give people time to make the adjustment. Just like, and then think about yourself. You need time to make adjustments when you're learning to do something new. So we have to be willing to
Exactly.
extend grace, just like we extend grace to ourselves. We have to be willing to extend grace to
To
others.
others. Yes.
It's all about extending grace, and it's all about giving people time, and especially if you see that they're making an effort.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's when you roll with it.
And this last point, and I'm gonna let Kim get into our next topic, but this last point is about sharing ideas. Part of cooperation is sharing ideas, and you be able to be willing to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
This is on both sides of the spectrum, y'all. Everybody wants to share the ideas, but don't nobody want to hear no idea. I want to do things out my way, part of compromise. But somebody who is willing to say, I know you kind of always did it this particular way, but how about we try it this way? Look, I'm not compromising on that food. I'll do it myself. I don't care. I can't do it. But there's certain things that don't creep me out so bad
Right.
that
Right.
when G says, let's try this way instead this time. And I'll be like, okay, you know what? Thank you for sharing that. That's good. And I have to open myself up and be open to, because he's willing to. Not everyone is even capable of ideas. I think they just sit there on dumb mute. I don't know. They just sit there looking real crazy and they
Right.
can't pour anything into what you're doing. Me and Kim get together. When a planning session is between me and
Mm-hmm.
Kim, them ideas get to flinging both
Yes, they
ways.
do.
Pow, pow, pow. And that's part of the cooperative
Cooperate.
cooperation that me and Kim have. You know what I was trying to go with.
Yes.
My tongue don't want to do it. But
Mhm.
yeah, just being able to share those are the ones that you value the most. Those relationships where you can have somebody who wants to work together, someone who's openly willing to communicate with you, someone
Mhm.
willing to compromise with you, and someone who's willing to share ideas. That's what you want to look for in relationships because it becomes healthy and it's not one sided. And they can receive those things from you. It could be a back and forth thing. Oh,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. And just like you're saying, when you're talking about sharing ideas, to me, that's also good in conflicts, in conflict resolution. Okay. Because
Yes.
sometimes we can come and all we do is all we do is complaining, complaining, complaining. When we talk about sharing ideas, that also encompasses sharing solutions.
Come on.
When something is going wrong or something
Come
is
on.
happening, you can say, all right, dang, this whole thing happened, but let's try this. Or let's see what we could do. So it's also
Mhm.
helping to come up with solutions,
Yeah.
because sometimes what happens is we make that other person in the relationship the sounding board. So that person is just hearing all of the things. All you're doing is just throwing,
Going.
this is happening, this is happening. All you're doing, all you're talking about is complaints, but we're never
Complaints.
hearing any solutions that you could possibly have to that problem,
Mhm.
or just some things that you would think about. We always think about just dropping things off on people. It's wonderful when, yes, they can give some suggestions,
Yeah.
but then you can be thinking about some things too. You know, I
Yes.
know that we're having this issue. It seems like we're having a money issue because we think about things that cause relationships to crumble. And
Yes.
sometimes what it is, it'll be finances. So we may say, well, dang, let's think about or let's ping pong with some ideas. Don't just be always saying, you don't never had no money and you don't ever had this.
Yeah.
Some people get real defensive when they hear the word
Yeah.
you. They feel like they're being attacked.
As they
And so
should, because people feel under attack after a while.
yes. And so you just feel, well, and everything. You always doing it. Why not? Why can't it be okay? Well, I noticed that we're having some issues with our finances. Let's look at what we can do or how we can help each other. You know,
You pinch
come with
pennies.
the,
What we gotta
don't
do?
come
Yeah.
with the finger pointing,
Yeah.
because when you point one finger, three fingers are pointing back at you. You always hear that. Okay. So let's just see how we can do that. When I think about that, I think about resolution too. Bring those ideas and bring some solutions to some possible things that are a point of contention in the
Yeah.
relationship. So it is important to share those ideas.
Something I really learned about myself lately,
Mhm.
that I realized I'm not the best friend that people need to have,
Why do you say that?
because I don't like listening to people complain. I'm so
Mm,
solution oriented. And
yes.
what I learned is people get offended when you have solutions. Sometimes people just want to complain and they should have room to.
Yes.
I'm just not the best friend for it. That's all. I it's my automatic thing to be like, let's heal. Woo, woo, woo. I'm a healer. I can't help
And
myself.
that's what some men do too. They are problem solvers. So they're looking to solve the problem. And just like you said, some people just want to complain.
They just
But
want to complain. And sometimes that's what all people need to make themselves feel better. It really is.
you have
And
to be able to
I
release it.
try my best to give space for that, but girl.
Yeah. It's difficult because it depends on how people are doing it too. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I don't want to feel like every time you call, you
That
throwing darts at me. And now I have to sit here and I have to process your
Lord.
pain for you. I don't mind us doing it together,
Yes.
but I don't want to sit for the pity party. And like you said, I don't want to have an invite to the pity party and we just sitting there and we just going to spiral down this drain together. I don't want that to be it.
It
Yes,
drains.
we can talk about those things to get it off
Yeah.
of us, but then let's bring each other out of it. Let's
Let's bring
talk
them.
about some other things that are going to help us to get out of that hole that we just dug. We're not
Yeah.
going down the rabbit hole and living in it.
I can't take it. I
Yeah.
can't. And somebody got mad at me. Oh, you just trying to be a life coach? No, I'm being Sheronda, and because I'm Sheronda, I'm a great life coach. You got it backwards. I'm not walking around trying to be a life coach. The fuck, I got. I was already that. I just got certified to be one.
Right.
That's who I am. I have
Mhm.
my moments where I just want to fuss a little bit, but I also love solutions. I love when people share ideas. I will
Mhm.
hit him up. It'll be 12 midnight.
Yes.
Him, you up? Because
Yeah.
my mind is like not able to settle within itself. I
Yeah.
don't even want to wake G up because no.
Mhm.
Kim is the one I want to have the conversation with.
That's right.
G be mad. Look, I already got to wake G up to kill bugs. I ain't messing with him when something on my mind. You know, he already be mad about that.
Right. That's why the one person is not going to be everything to everybody. Let's go there.
Let's go there.
Everybody is not going to be one person is not the end all to be all.
That answers all of the problems.
Exactly. Just like she says, there are certain aspects of her relationship that she knows, no, I'm not gonna hit G up for that. I'm gonna call Kim or I'm gonna call
Yeah.
whoever else it is that is in her inner circle that's
Mhm.
going to help her to get through this. So we have to be careful about not doing that too. Putting all of our eggs in one basket and
basket.
expecting that one person to be the catch-all for everything.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have that talent or that gift, or we'd all be walking around in perfect peace, not having to be medicated or having to go to therapy or anything, because we would be all right if we just our whole life is that everybody's not walking around in complete resolution. Nobody.
Right.
So we have
I'm
to be
telling you,
careful about
I
that.
learned
You know
that
what I'm
with
saying?
Cal.
Yeah.
I learned you, and I don't know if you remember that because me and you had known each other at that particular point.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, where I realized, wait a minute, he doesn't have to be those things. Well, I figured out, I was so frustrated that I couldn't have that like a girlfriend conversation, and he was
Right.
responding the way I wanted him to, and I had to finally say, wait a minute, he don't have to be that. Your friends can be that. What the hell?
There are certain things. I have work people at my job that we can discuss the buffoonery at work if that's the situation. I don't have to bring it home to Jay. Okay, because not only do I have to now I got to explain the
Plain.
players and I got to explain the whole situation when the people at the job already know who I'm talking about and what the
Mhm.
situation is, and so I don't have to sit there and reconstruct the story and cause
Right.
more anger because now I have to relive it to tell it. So you see
Right.
what I'm saying? So it becomes too much. And so just like you said, we have to begin to identify who the people are, who the go-to people are for certain things in our lives.
Yeah.
That's important when we're talking about relationships also. That's why you have some people who say I married my best friend or whatever, because it depends on the type of relationship and the connectivity that you have with that person.
Right.
Okay. But before I'm going to digress because I want to get on to respect because that is huge.
Massive.
Huge. People want to feel valued and respected in all areas of their life. People want to feel a sense of value. That value starts with respect. Okay. And the first one here says, don't expect your partner to read your mind. We were just
Just
talking
talking
about
about that.
Okay. You can't expect that because you have in your mind that you think that somebody is supposed to react a certain way and they don't. That was your interpretation
Yeah.
based on what you know about that person. That's why you have two ears and one mouth, because sometimes you need to listen more than you speak. Because when you listen, then you can say, okay, or you can see how that person thinks or how that person moves in certain situations. Then it'll get to that point where you say, oh well, you know what, why am I expecting him to be a loving father if he was abused by his father? There may
Ooh.
be some issues there, or there may be some things going on there, so I can't have this expectation or say, oh well, his dad beat the brakes off of him, so I expect him to be spectacular to the kids because he knows what it feels like to
He
be.
knows what it feels like.
You can't read somebody's mind.
Yeah.
You listen to gain information so that you can ask the questions that you need to ask to get the information so you can make the decisions that you need to make.
Yeah,
There's a whole system, there's a whole process at work there. That's why
exactly.
anytime you go into someplace new, you're looking around, you're trying to listen, you're trying to engage, you're trying to get the environment, into your system and see what it is and see how people move and operate. Then you can start asking questions. Then you can not get to the point where you're assuming that somebody knows something instead of asking them if they know.
Exactly.
That's
And then
important.
part of it, I love that. That again, I learned that in marriage too. Don't expect somebody to read your mind. Don't expect them to remember what you said all the time either. People have other things going on in their mind. You're not the beginning of all things. Some
That's
could be
right.
going on with their mom. Some men, especially, will keep things in because they don't want us to worry too much about it.
Right.
Or
Right.
whoever you're in relationships. Sometimes there are people who really keep things close to the cuff because they just don't want to frighten you, frustrate you, worry you, or anything. And so they have their own things going on, and you told them to try to remind them about something, and now they forgot. And then you have to repeat it again. Now you're pissed because you repeated it. That's part of reading your mind. It's important to you because it's important to you. And the more you have that experience with that person, the more that they will remember. And the more actually, the longer you're with somebody, they kind of do start reading your mind. But you have to, we're talking about the beginnings. We're
Yes.
talking about the dating. We're
Yes.
talking about the early, humble beginnings of getting, excuse me, to know someone. And you can't, I can't stand it, Kim. When I hear women talk about dating, you expect for him to know that you want your door open.
Because you
Not
assume that
all,
all men know that.
you just have to have the man. They don't do that much anymore. It's not, the chivalry isn't as of
Chivalrous.
as chivalrous as it used to be. You don't have that as
Right.
often. But a man who really enjoys you, if you say to him, I really would love it if you would open my door for me when I get out the car. And he might really want to do that for you. Maybe.
Mhm.
But you can put it out there and not just sit in the car staring at him and he walking towards the restaurant thinking your ass got out the car. And now you mad because he didn't do it, but you never even said it.
Big man. Mhm.
Big mad. There's a lot of times, there's a lot of things in early dating that I hear people talk about that I'm like, it makes my ears bleed. I don't understand the high expectation that people put on men and women
Mhm.
to just show up pretty packaged and ready to go for them. It's like this person's supposed to be ready and they know everything that I want and they're going to do everything I like. And if they don't do all the things that I like, then I can't be with you.
Right.
Some people will compromise. Remember that word?
Yes.
Remember, y'all?
You're absolutely right. And that's the thing, right? Like you said, some people, if they're in a relationship, they may have been in a relationship with somebody who didn't care whether they open the door or close the door or whatever. So,
Right.
so they weren't used to that. So, there's always a little course correction that has to happen when we're getting into a new relationship. Sometimes we carry the things from our old relationship into the new relationship. We try to tell them to stop trying to carry the baggage with you.
With you.
Glean from it what's important. Glean from it, the positive things that you got out of it, and leave the rest of that stuff behind.
Yeah.
With that sour relationship that you ended, leave it all
Leave
behind
it all
and
behind.
come in with a fresh outlook and a fresh thought on what you're going to do different in this next relationship. Okay. And that leads to this thing where it says you share ideas freely, including dreams, wants, beliefs, and needs.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we want to be careful here because you're not throwing up on that person,
Yes.
telling them your whole entire life from the beginning to the end and things like that. But you're sharing some of the things that you're hoping to accomplish so that way you can kind of be in alignment.
Yes.
You're trying to see it because when you share those things, then that
Mhm.
person has an opportunity to see where they may be able to fit in to that equation.
Yes.
Because if you're sharing that and you just and everything is I, and when I do this, and
Well,
the I, where is it that you're showing that you're open to the we?
so-
This is something I want to do, and then that person may be able to say, "Oh, you're doing that? Well, I know a little bit about this, or I know somebody who does that." That's where you're opening those lines of
yeah.
communication and giving them an opportunity to see where they can be where their part is in your life.
Yes, absolutely.
They can't determine that if you're so closed up and you're not telling them what it is that you're doing, and they may be able to help.
Help.
We always talk about resource. How is that person a
Yeah.
resource as well as an
Mhm.
intimate partner with you?
Come on. You better preach it, Kim.
That's the thing. We have to find out how is that person a resource? How is that? If I know that person is good at financing and I'm trying to establish that, okay, again, show me how help me. That
Help.
makes that person feel wanted. That makes that person feel valued in this relationship.
Help.
I trust you enough to share the things that I'm doing because I want to see how you can be a part of that
Exactly.
and how we can walk together in this.
Girl. Every time I hear about something like this, I think about when people get together. One of the things that, especially when you're younger, you should talk about is whether or not you want to have children.
Absolutely.
That's one of the conversations, and your feelings don't have to be hurt if you encounter somebody that you really do like them, y'all vibing, but they don't want kids and you do, or vice versa. That's not. That's
You're not
this
going to
is
make
the
sense.
ultimate. Dating is the ultimate time to find out when to walk away. It is okay. You're not supposed to be in alignment with everybody you meet. That's why
Right.
it's dating. It's an ing thing. Because what you married is ed. You're not marrying. You're married at that point. But
Right.
dating has an ing on it, so it's an
I
ongoing
love it.
process. It's not. It's not the
Love
end.
it.
And you get to find out those things so you can come into alignment with someone who likes to travel. I know young lady says she hates traveling. She doesn't like. She doesn't want to go travel the world. She doesn't want to get on planes and do things like that. She's allowed to not want that. But don't try to pressure somebody who does to be in a relationship with you and now they want to travel the world and you want them to stay home. That's what's happening in relationships these days.
Correct.
Y'all are not coming into full alignment and full agreement with this is what I do like. And again, that starts with do you know what you like? Anyway.
Right.
But it starts to come into agreement with you knowing what you like, them knowing what they like, and can we compromise? Can we make
Right.
this okay? Maybe you don't like to travel internationally.
But
But
can
when
we
you could we drive to across state lines and go do something in the mountains or go to the beach or so? You know,
right.
you find out where that lies. Okay, I don't really want children. Okay, well then can we do this? Can we get pets? Sometimes that works for people. Honestly, I've
Right.
seen it.
Yep.
So having those conversations is a form of respect for one another. And you respect what other people do and don't like. You ain't
Right.
gotta be with them.
Right.
Just respect it. I honor
Right.
that. Come on.
Right. I love that because just like you said, I'm respecting the fact that you have your own thoughts, you have your own aspirations, you have things that you want to do, and I'm respecting that you're coming into this relationship, and we're
Yes.
seeing again how we can create this beautiful harmony between the two of
Two of
us.
us. Yes.
How are we going to make that mesh? Just like you said, if you don't, if he doesn't want to travel and you do, how is that going to work?
How's that going to work?
How is that going to work? And how are you going to respect? Because as soon as you say, "Well, no, I'm going to make you do it," or it
Right.
becomes your expectation that that person is just going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them enough, and eventually I'm going to get them to change. I'm going to get them to want to travel out of time. They just don't know what they
Oh,
missing. You, you can't make that
bomb bomb.
determination for somebody.
Mm-mm.
You can't. And if, as soon as you start forcing somebody to do something, and you're pushing them to do different things in different areas of your relationship, they're going to begin to feel the pressure of that.
Exactly.
And that's where it's going to start to be a strain. And then there's going to be animosity that's going to build up between the two of you because why is it always that you're getting everything that you want?
You want.
You're pushing for your agenda, and it doesn't seem like you have any respect for what it is that I'm trying to
I
do.
want. Yeah.
And that's the breakdown right there. And then we still try to hang on and with the hopes that that person is going to change. Be very careful about thinking that somebody's going to change just because they're with you. They're going to flip their whole script, especially as we get a little older, because people get set in their ways about certain things. You still want to have a certain level of flexibility, but you don't want to take the identity away from that person
Away from that
and
person.
twist them and mold them into something that you want to make. We are not pieces. Okay,
No.
God is the potter. Okay,
Come on.
you
I'm
are
not
not.
morphing into you. I'm not
Correct.
morphing into
Correct.
your twin. Sorry.
Right. So we have to be careful about things like that. Okay. And I love this last one here. It says, you can agree to disagree. We're not always going to agree on everything, you know, certain thing. And then it also depends on what it is that we're disagreeing about. Okay. Sometimes are you being petty?
Yeah. Right.
Are you being petty? Or is it really something that's going to significantly affect your relationship?
Relationship. Yeah.
And those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Sometimes we have to, we always talk about choosing your battles. Is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
Can we just agree to disagree on this and move on? Because is it something that is going to cripple our relationship? Is it something that's going to cause us to be at odds and that's going to wind up eventually, destroying the relationship? How much of a disagreement is it, or what is it that we're talking about? And that's the one thing that we have to take into consideration. What is it that we're arguing about? I did a podcast with a gentleman, and we call him Dr. Love, and he was talking about the art of arguing, and talking about the fact that we should always be arguing, or if we're in a state of arguing, are we arguing for each other?
Yeah.
Or against each other?
Yeah.
What are we trying to get to a point where it's going to help to strengthen us, or are we arguing and all it's going to do is put a wedge between us?
Exactly.
We should always be on each other's side, on the side of arguing or disagreeing about about what it is that's trying to push us apart. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. This is one of the things I learned.
That's right. We should be fighting against that.
Yeah. Because I had the need to be right. Some other people could relate to that if they really wanted to. I felt the need to be right. I didn't know that's what I was doing in the moment, but I knew I was fucking right. The point was, but I know that this is the correct thing to do. And one of the things I learned was, Sheronda, even if you are,
right,
is it worth it?
Correct.
Is it worth the strife and the frustration and the anger that's about to come simply because you can't just let this man feel how he want to feel or do it how he want to do it? That was one of the, that was a big lesson for me in marriage was to learn to agree. Just, I don't agree, but you go ahead and you can do it that way. And guess what? I didn't say I told you so neither. I just went ahead and fixed whatever needed to be fixed. I learned
what the end result is. Just
as long as it's not going to be destructive, as long as this is not going to take away from our food, our shelter, and things like that, I had to really gauge and pick my battles and figure out when is you could just tell them you don't agree and let it move on. And that made my relationship so much healthier.
Because it's like you said, everybody's always wanting the end result for them is wanting to be right.
Want to be right.
Okay, so and so once you're right, okay, but did it change the paradigm of the relationship? Did it change? Are we soaring to new heights now as a result of you being right? Yeah. If not, then just say you got too far. Good for
if
you.
I'm right all the time, you know how pissed I'm gonna be that I'm right all the time. Then it's gonna be the opposite end of the spectrum for me. But I'm the one that always got to come up with the ideas. Well, I always got to fix everything. But you always think you're right. Bitch, you always think you're right. That's why you got to do it all the time. So now he done fell back because you feel like you can do it all. He done fell back, and now I'm pissed because I'm doing everything. Child, please.
Right. And now that person doesn't even want to give their opinion because they're just like whatever, because after a while you feel like every time we get together, I don't want to have to feel like I have to stand at a podium like I'm on trial every single time we have a conversation about something. Absolutely. Because now my defense is up because I know you're going to battle me until I say you're right. And so now, even if I do have if I want to share my thoughts and my ideas, I'm just going to never mind because I don't got time to be going back and forth with you.
Girl. And Cal is a Cancer, so them claws is already out. Them crabs, they already ready to come get you for something.
Me and my husband are both Tauruses, so sometimes every now and then that clank, 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 clank.
Boom. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I learned it. But now we're gonna go to boundaries.
Boundaries.
I love that we get to end with this because boundaries. This is not a conversation I remember hearing about growing up. at
Mm-hmm.
all when they talk about love and marriage and things like that. I
That's
don't
right.
recall this conversation, but I love the conversation of boundaries because it is so important. Number one, your time alone, your alone time, it should be respected. Why
Yes.
are you not calling me? When you're dating someone and they on something, I haven't heard from you all day. I'm just getting to know you. Well, maybe I'm asleep. Maybe I'm on a date with somebody else. We just dating, motherfucker. Leave me alone. Fuck. Leave me alone. Or just I just want to be alone. And even that's true as you go along and you're married for a long period of time. There are times where you just need to be with yourself, and you should be. There's
Yes.
you have to have some alone time. No matter how much you think you love that person, dirty drawers, you need to have some alone time, and that should be respected. If I say, watch the kids, I need to step away for an hour just so I can be by myself. I shouldn't get phone calls every 20 minutes while I'm gone
Right.
because now you're not respecting. That's a boundary you're crossing.
Right.
I specifically asked for a specific time, and again, communication. We talked about that already. I'm communicating to you what I need. Respect my boundary.
Yeah.
I need time alone. Let it be that. Or you going to go see somebody else. Motherfucker, maybe. You know, and you're not even about to do that. It's not even what you about to do. But now you bothering me because now you disrespecting my boundary and you can't respect me as someone that you're dating. We don't do that in the champagne room. Or in
Okay.
Wakanda. Or in Wakanda. Sorry.
Oh, all right. But like you said, your time alone. Yeah. Especially when you're in a relationship, if you spend too much time with that person, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to process
Oh my God.
the relationship. You're not giving yourself enough time to think about what it was that transpired during the time that you were together. You need to be able to step away and process. If it's just that person is constantly in your face, when are you ever taking a moment to be like, okay, is this really what I want? Or did I really like that? Or was that something
Yes.
about it's too much on you? You're not giving yourself enough time to breathe
Yes.
and to soak in the beauty of what happened.
Yes.
I don't want to, yes, I love water. Doesn't mean I want to stay in the water and drown. I want to come out for a few minutes, dry off, get a chance to look at it, step back from it,
Yeah.
look at the beauty that that water holds, be able to
Yes.
smell the salt air, all those things. I want to be able to step back and get some of that, then go back in and
Exactly.
let it go around me and let it wash over my body. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to experience the whole thing. And sometimes experiencing the relationship is being able to step back and look at it from a distance too, because now you're seeing it through the lens that other people are seeing it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Take time to step back for a minute, because you need to have your time of meditation. You need to have your time of prayer. You need to have your time of being able to be introspective,
Yes.
you know, because I'm still in love with me. I've taken time to get to know me and to love me. And so every now and then I'm going to want to spend some time with myself as well, with myself and my thoughts. And
Exactly.
when I come back, then I can come back and bring my perspective.
Exactly. I think about that. Alone time is also the time for you to refill. You need to refill your cup, or keep it on overflow. I try to keep mine on overflow. That's why I try to do alone time. I'm a big believer in my cup is overflowing at all times.
Yes.
People benefit from the overflow, not from what's in my damn cup. That's my cup.
Right.
That's my cup. But if I allow you to take all of my energy, I'm spending all my time with you. We always in each other's faces. We don't step away from each other. My cup is being drained of your energy.
Right.
Even when it comes to being a parent, parents need a moment of
Yes.
alone time. I even, as a life coach, I have to tell single women when they go to bed, don't go straight to bed. At least see if you give yourself 30 minutes where you can sit in a tub, or you can take that real relaxing shower with that beautiful body wash and
Right.
really indulge and pay attention to your body and give thanks for it, so that you are taking care of yourself and you have an awareness of yourself. When we get caught up in all forms of relationships, it don't matter the form of relationship, you need to be able to step away, make
Right.
sure your cup is full so these people get an overflow. Don't nobody have time for you all to be taking out of people's cups. It's not fair. And your alone time is your rejuvenation time to
That's
come
right.
back to self. But I'm gonna keep this thing moving. This next one says individual thoughts are celebrated. That's a
Yes.
nice boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts are, I don't have to agree with you to celebrate you.
That's right.
I don't have to do what you're doing to say, damn, I like that. You better get that shit. Because that's how I'm going to say it. That's how Sheronda goes. You better get that shit. You better do the damn thing. You better do. I can celebrate you, and you want to start this cleaning business, and I'm gonna see what I could do in order to. And then I'm gonna place my wherever your boundaries are. Do you want me to help? No. Okay, I'll stay right here. But I got my pom. I got my
There
pom.
you go.
You know,
There you
whatever I can do, but I'm gonna celebrate your thoughts for yours because they don't have. They're not mine. The fuck.
right. Right. Things happen, and I love that. I think about, I know we're talking about, beginning relationships, but even with when I think about my husband and things that I've accomplished,
Mhm.
things that I may have been doing individually, and certifications that I may have gotten, I'm like, yes, I did this, because it's a matter of making sure that I'm confident in things I'm doing. We have to make sure that we're acknowledging and encouraging and speaking over ourselves,
Absolutely.
because if that person for some reason is no longer there or
Yeah.
can't be there, then we can say, all right, I'm tooting my own horn.
Okay.
Then we let that person come in, and then we can celebrate collectively at a time. And that person say, you know what, just like Shawana said, you did that. That was you, you know? Yeah,
Yes.
and that was a beautiful, I've been podcasting for 5 years. My husband's like, you doing that? If somebody likes, follows, shares, and subscribes, why you got another subscriber? All right,
Yeah.
and that's nice, but he's not taking away from the things that I built even before he came along.
Yes. Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So there's that opportunity to celebrate ourselves, and then and the things that we're seeking to do, and then that person can come in and support that. But it's something that you've done on your own, or
Yes.
thought that you had initially, and you vibe from
And
there.
acted on it. Beautiful. This next boundary is everything. Chat.
Mm, everything.
Yeah. My time is appreciated. It's
Mm,
a hard boundary for me. That
mm,
is a hard boundary. I do not like feeling like anybody's taking advantage of my time. I can't stand it. When I say I do free 30-minute consultations, when you come to me and you want to find out if I'm the life coach for you, the way I'm watching that clock at 29 minutes,
mm.
because I need my time to be appreciated. Because I've learned that people will sap you, they will
Yes.
suck and drain. And I used to love being everything for everybody, and they contact me and I do a Facebook video call, and now we're looking at each other, and oh, and I'm enjoying talking to them about the things that I've learned as a life coach. And by the time I get off there, number one, they never even apply to be a client. Number
Mhm.
two, I'm exhausted. Like I
Right.
could physically feel the exhaustion by the time I would get off these calls, and I was like, wait a minute, my time's not being appreciated. Same thing with dating. If you say we're going to meet up at 7 o'clock, I'm going to be there at 7. If I'm not there at 7, it's going to be 7:05, and I'm going to let you know I'm running 5 minutes late. It's the people who say nothing. Now you
Right.
even let, so we going on a date. I'm meeting up with you for the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time. I don't care. And I'm sitting here at 7, and now it's 7:15. I haven't heard from you. I'm trying to contact you. You're not answering the phone. I'm starting to worry if something happened to you. Then you
Right.
finally show up and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw you call, but I was on the phone. My homeboy or my mom or somebody. You couldn't send me a text. You couldn't just click over and say, hey, I'm on the way. I'm on the phone.
Right.
Those things.
Right.
That's a hard one. That boundary for me. Please don't take advantage of my time so I can
Oh,
manage.
yes. Just like you said, I am huge on, how I am about time. I am a
Girl.
stickler for time. I'm gonna give you that little, just like you get that little grace period at work, they give you like 7 minutes or whatever like that. I'm gonna give you about 15 minutes, and then I'm leaving, and then I'm going to say, okay, well, maybe we can meet another time if I have not heard from you. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, like you said, it goes right back up to cooperation, communication. Communicate with me. You saw that you were running late. You saw that you were not going to possibly make it there in time.
Yeah.
So if you saw that there was a possibility that you were going to be late, then I'm going to need for you to reach out. And if you
Yeah.
don't, then I'm not going to be like, oh, we're never going to date, because I understand that things happen. What
Yes.
I'm definitely going to do is say, oh, we plan to meet at 7 o'clock. It was 7:15. So or you let them know that up front. I'm a stickler for time, or if we're doing something, I usually give a 15-minute grace period so that way they're not caught by surprise. I'm
Yes.
going to say, I usually give 15 minutes, or if you tell them up front, typically when I go places, if the person is like 15 minutes late, and I don't hear from them, then I just, call them back later at the time and we can reschedule for another time.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And if you put that out there in the beginning, you've already made it clear that this is something that's a boundary for you. So they can't say that they didn't know. You don't just spring it on them. You don't just go ghost and not say anything because they didn't show up. You had to have let them know, hey, I know we're planning to have dinner. Usually I give like a little 15-minute window, and so if I don't hear from you or something goes wrong, please try to reach out within that 15
Yes.
minutes and I at least know you're coming. Give them that little leeway there, give them that opportunity, but if it's something that's happening consistently and often, you sitting there, nobody's sitting nowhere 30, 40 minutes waiting on anybody. I hope not. Because now I'm not valuing myself or my time, and I'm a respecter of my time. I do the same thing with my podcast. If I have guests that are coming on the show, if they don't show up in this 15 minutes, we're going to reschedule. I'm not going to sit there and wait if I have not heard from you and then try to figure out. And I'm going to say a little prayer because just like I said, things happen. Somebody could be in an accident. You're concerned first, wondering if that person is okay, if they're safe and everything else like that. And, those are the kinds of boundaries set. If you're a stickler for time, let people know you're a stickler for time.
Period. And the last one, you remain an individual inside the relationship. Nobody wants to see you and somebody morph together into one damn form. Now y'all turned into what they used to call
Brangelina
or
whatever.
Brangelina. No. What makes relationships so special and so amazing, I'm talking about all forms of relationships, is the individuality of them. It's you being who you are, bringing all that charisma, that fun, that laughter, that good cooking, whatever it is that you bring to the relationship. And then this other person bring what they bring. It's that should be a hard boundary that you still be you. Yes, I can start. Cal loved fishing. I love fishing too, though. But Cal loved fishing. And so you have me up. It'd be dark. And we still about to get in somebody's boat. And I'm like, if it's an alligator gonna come chase me, I'd be scared. I don't know. But I'm gonna again compromise and do those things. But Sheronda wants to go to the Fox and see Alvin Ailey. Or Sheronda wants to do something that's the Nutcracker's coming, Cal. He coming too, because I still get to be me. I don't turn into him and just enjoy everything that he enjoys. And I like what you like. What's the movie, Kim? I like whatever you like. Coming to America. Coming to America. He was getting the bride that they
my car. You can take my car.
I like anything you like. No, I don't. I don't like that shit. Matter of fact, go watch the other TV. I know me and G can watch some of the things together and they're wonderful. And then there's times we have to separate. We're going into two separate rooms and you watch what you watch. I watch what I watch.
And that goes into that. Yeah, I was gonna say that goes into that alone time too. And because sometimes it's a matter of, okay, we can do it. Yeah. I love the Goodwill. I love the GW. That's what I call the GW. That's my spot. Okay. My husband loves tools. He loves Harbor Freight. Yes, he's going. There have been times when we've gone in there and gone into a parking lot and see a Goodwill and a Harbor Freight. I'm like, okay, you go that way, I'm gonna go this way, and we're gonna go and do our thing, and then we'll come back together.
I think they got it like that, don't they?
Most of the time, or they go down the street. That's something. Look, we figure it out. But both of us travel for work as well, and so that gives us an opportunity to do our thing. Just like we do this live. Okay, this is my time. This is the time that I've earmarked to do this.
Yes,
he is a respecter of that, and seeing that this is my individual. This is our show. This is our time to do our thing with you all. And that this hour is mine. Now, when I'm done with this, then we can go ahead and do what we do.
What we do.
Yes. But both of us are the same kind of insanity. Sheronda knows my husband. Okay, he cray cray and I'm cray cray, and the two of us together are it's just a comedy show.
A whole bunch of cray cray.
But it's just not him doing everything or him doing all talking. We're both talking. We're both involved in the conversation. It's not that one person is sitting in the corner and the other person is shining.
Yeah, that's not what's going on. Celebrate each other.
That's right. That's right. And the individuality, that's what brought you together in the first place.
Yes. So, to wrap this up, thank you to all who jumped in, joined in, listened in. Thank you for those who will come back later and watch. Make sure you are following both of our pages. It has been scrolling at the bottom of this, our little video
Yes.
all night long. Make sure you go to Kim's at How Now Podcast 2391 and go to my AYE Live 8131 and click
Yes.
like, subscribe, share, watch old videos, and make sure you're being a part. Next week, we're going to still be talking about dating because we like talking about dating and y'all need some help out here in the streets. I'm just saying. We love
That's
you.
right. That's right. We love you guys. And until we see you next time, we say peace.
Peace.